On a lighter note, let me ask you this. Whose shoes are you wearing? And I'm not talking about the shoes you buy in a store. They are the ones that walk you through your life's journey. Are you comfortable in your own shoes? Well, two sisters from Uganda set out to help women uncover their true self with the book, Whose Shoes Are You Wearing? 12 Steps to Uncovering the Woman You Really Want to Be. Author Julian Kiganda and Christine Saint-Viel, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having us.
Ladies, let me tell you this. First, when I saw the title of the book, I saw shoes. That's all.
Yeah.
And I thought it was about Louboutin and Nine West. But then I opened the book, and it was so amazing what you had to talk about in this book. First of all, in a few words, how would you describe the book? Let me start with you, Gillian.
Well, you know, from what we've been told by people who have gotten the book and have read it, I mean, the reviews have been so phenomenal. And initially, we're saying it was a self-help book. You know, there's so many of those, but this one really talks about it from a cultural perspective. But we were told this weekend, actually, that it's more of a self-healing book.
Oh,
which
that's
was
very
really
interesting.
profound, yeah.
And how do you understand that self-healing?
Self-healing. Well, you know, it's amazing because we've had so many great testimonials about people, and specifically, there's a lot of difficult things we talk about in the book, but it's things that we had to overcome to be able to get to where we are today. And there's one particular chapter that we talk about something very, very hard to talk about. And
Yes.
I got an email from someone who, you know, is close to me. And she was like, for the first time in years, she was able to forgive herself and not feel like she was blaming herself for what had happened to her. So it's those types of things that we are reminded that this project was never about us, and it was to help as many women heal from their past so they can get to where God is trying to lead them to.
So what prompted you to really think, okay, I'm going to lay out my story, share it with other women, and try to help them and empower them? Gillian?
That's always an interesting question. Well, you know, both of us have our own consulting. And so my sister came to me and said she was looking for a product for her clients, and she coaches other moms on how to feel good without feeling guilty. And so I said, well, you know, both of us talk about transformation. Let's write a book on transformation. And so we laughed because she thought I meant a 10-page ebook, and it turned out to be a full 144-page tool for self-healing.
Very interesting. And you talk about self-identity very much,
Oh, yes.
and how culture can
Absolutely.
impact positively the process in finding oneself. Where does the process start? When we talk about self-identity, do the parents lay the foundation, or do you find it on your own?
I think in our case, a lot of it we had to kind of find it on our own. Julian was born in Uganda, I was born here, and so we dealt with a lot of those two identities, because growing up in America, first generation American as a Ugandan, living in a very African household, it was one of those things that we're home, we are, one person, and yes, mummy, and all this other stuff, and we get outside with our friends, and it's like, hey, we're a totally different person. We change our names sometimes because we don't want to tell people what our real name is. Yes. So it's that identity thing, and thankfully, we grew up in the performing arts, and so we were able to really understand and have a better appreciation for our culture, and so we wanted to make sure that we really made sure that was a big part of this whole project, was understanding our culture and allowing other young people as well, and women, to embrace that. And in order to really find the shoes that God made for you, you have to embrace all of you.
And you cite Lupita Nyong'o as an example.
Yes.
Gillian, can you elaborate on why she's such an inspiration to so many women?
What is there to say?
I
Everybody
know,
loves
really. I already
pizza.
know it. I'm sure many women know, but I just want to hear it in your own words.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, first of all, she's East African, so we could certainly relate to her. But I think, every woman, every young girl who's growing up not liking what she looks like, the fact that Lupita is really changing the standard of beauty and is not afraid to say, this is who I am, and I'm proud of it. She set such an amazing example with her grace and her positive attitude, and just being very focused and embracing all of who she is.
There seems to be a trend, or maybe a movement, around self-identity. Why do you think that people are so interested nowadays to know who they really are? Were we not who we were before? I mean, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's, one thing is just people are at a period. You see all these people, influential people that are talking about, change and, how do you get to where you want to get to? And people find themselves, we have a chapter in there called The Definition of Insanity.
Yes.
And so a lot of times we live the definition of insanity because we want, X, Y, and Z, but yet we're still stuck in this one place and we keep doing the same things, not understanding why it's not happening or why we're not getting to where we want to get to. But we have to get down to the root of the problem before we can really figure that out.
So what will the readers find in the book quickly as we're getting ready to wrap up? What is the takeaway?
Well, I think that the greatest takeaway is learn to love and embrace all of you, because until you do, you will never truly walk in the shoes that God made for you. And I'll tell you, I think that the one thing people appreciate, although we wrote it from an African perspective, we have women from all backgrounds, cultures, Latino, Asian, you name it. They're all saying, I can relate to this. And even men, let's not forget the men. We've had men read the book in an hour and say, I need to buy a copy of this for every woman in my life. So it really is something in there for everyone. People appreciate the fact that it's very conversational. So we're not preaching to you, we're just saying we've been there, we've gone through it, and so can you.
Very good, and we'll leave it there. You're the older sister in our tradition. She gets the final word.
Absolutely. There you go.
Christine, Julian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
And
for
ladies,
having us.
again, thank you. That was Julian Kiganda and Christine Saint-Ville, author of the book, Whose Shoes Are You Wearing? And we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com.